So my name is Korte. I'm the founder of AngelPad. And AngelPad is an early stage accelerator based in San Francisco and in New York. We usually take 12 companies into a cohort twice a year. We've been around since 2010. I've invested in about 100 companies total since then. No, not so much. We really have a cross-section across everything. We have quite a few marketplaces. We like marketplaces a lot. We like B2C if there is a transaction involved. So for example, one of our companies is Postmates. It's a delivery service where you can order anything from any place, and someone comes and brings it to you. We certainly have enterprise companies as well, both very hard technology enterprise companies like cloud scaling. Elasticbox is one of the companies, for example, or Mopub, which was acquired by Twitter, which is advertising technology, ad tech. But then we also have companies that are SaaS. We really like SaaS, and I think that's where it comes from. That many people say we're an enterprise accelerator because we have so many SaaS companies. Pipedrive, for example, is one of the companies that is working on optimizing the sales processes. I don't know if I can say there's a concept. I often say, make something people want and want to pay for it. I think it's very important that it's easier to make something people want, but if they have to pay for it, it adds a layer of complexity and it makes it a business. So I would say if there's something as a general mantra, make something people want, solve a problem, and look for something people want to pay for or do pay for. It's really a lot of things. I try to not go with the latest trend and look for something specific, but all of a sudden I see VR companies. I didn't see them a year ago. There's certainly a lot of on-demand. When you think about all the things that we consume every day, most of them will be brought to us, and our lives will be made easier. I think still marketplaces, it's really a broad cross-section across everything. I don't believe just because someone has done something, you can't do it again. Like I would take a bet on somebody that is trying to do something like Uber, for example, for a specific niche, or for, I don't believe in it's been done, it won't happen again. Others have called us the anti-Y Combinator, and I think it's because we have a very focus on working very closely with a very small set of companies and having a very big influence on the product and on the markets that they go after. And we spend a lot of time with them. We are in the same office every day with them through the cohort, and we see them every day, and we influence the companies, and we keep it very, very small. I believe advice is not very easy or very difficult to scale. If I give the same advice to everybody, I'm a university, right? I just have blank statements of how to do things. But when it comes down to building a specific business that is very different, very unique, you can't just say, oh, do this or do that. So it's important to spend the time with the companies, and that's why people have called us the anti-Y Combinator. So we have a few. Certainly, the team is very important. I think the market that they're going after is very important. The product itself has some importance. What have they built as a prototype? But it's really, we look for awesome teams that have a very unique insight in a specific market. And if that market is really large, like transportation or food or enterprise communication or messaging, then we get really excited. And if they have a product that looks pretty and is usable, that helps too, but it's not as important at the earliest stage. It's very often from founders that have experienced the very problem, right? Often, I don't like companies that are started because someone reads in a spreadsheet, oh, this is a huge market, and then thinks about a solution, how they can apply to that. I like founders who have been at a company, have seen a problem, are trying to solve something that was a personal experience and trying to solve that problem. And if they have really deep knowledge in that, or are really good in acquiring deep knowledge in a specific field, that really helps. So that's really where most of the great companies come from. A personal experience where founders want to solve a problem. And that problem happens to be something that a lot of other people have as well. Acquiring customers. by far the most difficult thing is many companies fail because it's not because they can't build a product, it's not because they don't solve a problem, they do that. But acquiring customers, and not just a few customers at scale, becomes very, very difficult, and it becomes expensive. And figuring out how can you spend less money on acquiring a customer than the money you make from that customer is actually really, really difficult. And that's probably the biggest problem in scaling a startup. I think what I see happening often in very early stage companies is that they commit to co-founders too quickly. There's somehow in Silicon Valley, in most of the startup community, is this thought that you have to be 2 founders to be a company, or 3 founders to be a company. And so teams assemble quickly, and kind of it's very easy to say, oh, we've been working on this, let's work together, let's do a company, half you, half me, but this is a very, very important decision in the life of a company. It's something you can't undo after. Once those papers are written, that equity is gone, that founder is involved in certain way. And so I think a lot of early stage companies make that mistake to take it too lightly of starting a company with somebody, and not spending the time to get to know the person, not just as a friend. We often see people that work together and say, we've worked together for 5 years, but it doesn't mean you can be great co-founders. So I think that's a very, very frequent mistake I see founders making. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. AngelPad is a startup like all the startups that we mentor and fund. I think for me, what's gratifying is when I see companies growing from basically nothing, just from ideas, to something where there's meaningful businesses. And a company like Postmates, for example, now has created over 20,000 jobs. And this is not highly skilled technology jobs. This is people driving things around. It's really satisfying to see that happening when technology doesn't just change how we use our phone or brings us the latest headset, but actually changes how economies work. And that's kind of what keeps me driving. So big vision, focus on big problems, do things that matter. The next game is not going to change the world, but drones will, and batteries will, and better software will.